Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so on the rush to try to get home for the Laker game at 4 o'clock, man. 4 o'clock. I didn't miss this part of being a Laker fan, you guys, because you want to do certain things on your day, you know, with your day. Obviously, a lot of people work, and the game's starting at 4 o'clock on the West Coast makes it so that a lot of people won't be able to see it. Or if they're like me, they have to rush around and do everything they have to do that they would love to be able to do and get home at like 5:30. You got to try to rush around and get all that done before 3 so you can be back home by 4. I'm not a fan of the early Eastern Conference game during the week. If you want to do it on a Saturday or something, maybe I can schedule that a bit better because obviously it's during the weekend. People can make sure they're home or make sure they're at the lounge or at a bar or whatever they want to do to watch the game. You can go to a sports bar and enjoy it. At 4 o'clock, most people are in rush hour traffic. A lot of people haven't even gotten off work. Forget rush hour traffic. They haven't even gotten off work yet. So I know this, you know, they're catering it for everybody in the eastern side of things. Cleveland gets a 7 p.m. game. It's perfect for them. But to be honest with you, it's very, very not so convenient for us Laker fans who and the West Coast people who have to try to just miss it or catch it on tape delay somehow or something. It's not good. It's not good. I think those games, they could push that thing back to 5:30. I don't think any games that they want the West to watch should begin before 5:30 on weekdays, unless it's Christmas Day or something like that. If it's Easter or something like that, weekend stuff like that, we can deal with. But this type of game where it has so much riding on it with Bron and Bronny coming to Cleveland, half the people they want to watch the game ain't even gonna be off work, man. So that's what I want to say. Just not a fan of that. I wish they would schedule that differently. Another thing that I saw on the schedule as I was looking at the schedule this morning is there's a back-to-back with Utah where we see Utah here and then we see Utah the very next day in Utah. What the hell are they asking these players to do, man? With that particular part of the schedule, I just don't know what the schedule makers are expecting. When you got to get on a 5-hour flight or 4-hour flight or whatever it is to Utah and play less than 24 hours later. The game here, I think, is like at 7:30 p.m. and the game there is like 6 p.m. That's less than 24 hours. Less than 24 hours, fam. You're asking the same two teams to play in two different states halfway across the country in a less than 24 hours. That is absolutely inconsiderate. It's inconsiderate of the players and coaches and everybody who has to make those flights. That's awful, man. Just so the same two teams can see each other? What the hell are y'all doing? So these are the type of things that I'm thinking about when considering this team. It's just looking at the schedule, man. I think that's one of the most inconsiderate things I've ever seen on an NBA schedule. Is asking the same two teams to play one game in Los Angeles and then fly to Salt Lake City in less than 24 hours, play another game. When those two teams could just play in the middle of a park somewhere twice and get that crap over with. They don't have to fly across the country to do that. They really don't. So for me, I just think that's highly inconsiderate of the schedule makers and of the in regards to these players, man. That's awful. This is terrible, man. But so that's something I was looking at on the schedule. We have a couple sets of back-to-backs that we talked about when the schedule first came out. The Utah game, and not really back-to-back, but home and homes or seeing the same team twice in the same building. We got that twice on the schedule. I think we have 2 home games back-to-back with San Antonio, 2 home games back-to-back with the Clippers of all damn teams, which is really strange when you consider it. But, yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. I just saw some stuff on this schedule that made you really roll your eyes. I do like the idea that the Lakers have a lot of their Eastern Conference games out of the way right now. I do like that aspect of the schedule. You take that early trip early in the season, that long trip early in the season where you wipe out a good 4 Eastern Conference teams in a row. I think that's convenient because it allows for some long home stands throughout the course of the year. For example, during January, our team will be in California for like almost a month straight. And so that's kind of cool. And then the way it's set up is we also got a situation where we're on a 5-game road trip. And then we have a road game on the way back in the Clipperland. So that's like, it takes away a road game. You're on a road trip, but you more or less come home a game early. That's the convenience of having 2 teams in the same city. And it's, you know what I mean? We can have a road trip and one of those games be basically a home game. So that's really cool. What else? The Christmas Day game is in San Francisco. And I don't know. If I'm LeBron James, I don't mind. But everybody who knows California well enough knows that you might as well not be in California from Frisco. If you're from LA, or if you're from Frisco and you got to play in LA, you might as well. That's another state, basically. The distance is basically another state. So for those who don't really know our state like that, they're like, oh, he's still in California. No, he's not. No, he's not, man. He's like 500 miles away. He's not. Might as well not be. Might as well not be, man. You are definitely not home. So yeah, that's a real thing. But and as I talked about many times, that Sacramento cluster, where we see Sacramento 3 times in a matter of like a week and a half, I'm not in love with that at all. I am glad we got that first Sacramento game out the way, though, where we got the win there. But I just feel like it could become a dangerous thing for a team who, we can have injuries that a guy will miss 2 weeks. You know what I mean? That type of thing is a real thing. You can have a situation where one guy goes down for 2 weeks. You play the same team 3 times that same week. And now you've lost the season series because you weren't able to win without that player. You know what I mean? That kind of thing is what concerns me about that type of cluster. It could tell the story between what is your playoff picture. You know what I mean? It could really determine your playoff picture. I prefer teams be spread out much better than that, so that the likelihood of one injury doesn't control the entire season series. You feel me? So that's a concern of mine. And it's a lot of that going on in the Lakers schedule this year with the many home and homes and double same team games. I think we have like 4 sets of those this year, which gotta be a record for us. With Utah, OKC, the Clippers, Sacramento, and the Spurs, if I didn't already mention them. Like, that's a lot of seeing the same team twice. So I don't know, man. I just think that probably in some very complicated way is very manipulatable, in the sense that you can, more so by way of the schedule, control more of what happens in regards to playoff seeding and stuff like that. I'm not sure how they can do it, but I think it's something there in that vein. You sniff a little around that a little bit, and I'm pretty sure you'll find that that's manipulatable, man. So I don't know. It's a lot of stuff that I don't like when you insert sports betting into the equation. And this is what I say about the NBA upholding sports betting. You just open the door for a lot of different entities being willing or trying to find clever, sly ways of manipulating things. You just open the door for corruption. That's all you're doing. So I just think that the greed of sports betting is really on the verge of blowing the whole business up, if I'm being honest with you. While everybody wants to get in on the piece of the action, everybody wants to push this sports betting app and that sports betting app. I'm telling y'all, all it takes is for somebody to do something extremely awful to blow the whole business up, man. And when you leave room open for a chance to make great profit, people will try to eliminate or manipulate chance so that great profit can be secured, and I just know better. Just like we talk about in other areas of life, wisdom should be followed. Wisdom will keep everything going long terms. The absence of wisdom and the insertion of greed is what ultimately deteriorates a business, in my opinion, man. You gotta know when to leave something on the table. Sometimes it's best not to eat all the damn food. leave some leftovers for tomorrow. Allow your stomach to digest. You don't need to eat everything you see. And I think greed removes the presence of that being what people would choose in a lot of cases. So I don't know, man. I think sports betting, it could be very lucrative, but I think it's greedy of people to take something that in yesteryear's era was deemed so inappropriate and now just gather around it like the wisdom behind why it was inappropriate is lost upon us. Adam Silver, man. That's all. It's Adam Silver's league. When not Donald Sterling, I don't know why I want to say Donald Sterling, but when the previous commissioner, David Stern, controlled things, there was much more room for balance and integrity to be found. His role was to grow the league internationally, and he pulled it off. Did a great job of growing the league internationally. Now that the league has grown to a space where it's international, there's different types of money that come in and entice people to want to to let them in. There's different types of money. Oil money, crypto tycoons, all different types of people from all over the world making their money in all different types of ways. And because all money is considered good money in the game of capitalism, you are allowing some energies into your circle that maybe, by way of being a bit more conservative about who you let in, you keep from allowing to destroy what you got going on. I understand expansion is important, but once you start letting everyone in, then you start letting in the problems that everyone brings, and that's not always a good thing, man. Not all money is good money, not all content is good content, not all conversation is constructive, etc. And I agree with expanding across the world. I really agree with that. And you have a big business, you want to be able to reach as many people with your product and profit as much as you can. But if those profits that come in also leak in weeds and maggots and all this, you know what I'm saying? Not to be too graphic, but like figuratively, that type of stuff comes in with everyone. Some people need to be kept out, even if they bring a big bag. You understand what I'm saying? Even if they bring a great deal of exposure. Some things are not to be let into your business. And I just feel like once you start letting certain types of people in, now you bring in the presence of their corruptible intentions, of their moral bankruptcy potentially, of their lack of understanding for what is good and what is bad, for what is the bigger picture is, or their lack of care for that bigger picture for the sake of their own interests, and how well they're able to mask that. However they're able to, it just becomes a very slippery slope. And I just think the NBA is starting to slip over that slope. And you want to come down on a guy like Jontay Porter for betting on basketball in the way that he did, ignoring the fact that you let betting back into basketball, which enabled him to be corrupted by the temptation of it. You see what I'm saying? And we can blame the drug user, but you're not going to blame the dude that's cooking it up. You're not going to blame the dude that's distributing it. You're just going to come down on the dude that's using it. That's it, right? I know better, man, and that's why I'm speaking this way. Adam Silver, your role is to expand on the fact that we have so much exposure around the world with this league. I get that. Stern was to get the exposure. Yours is to capitalize on said exposure. But at the end of the day, if you're letting in corrupt entities, they're going to make it so that everything is at risk. They can collapse it by way of their nefarious actions, and people digging into those nefarious actions and finding you complicit in those actions. This is why you keep sports betting out of your league. Nobody was confused by the idea that you could make massive amounts of money. And the presence of devices make it so that sports betting is significantly more lucrative. More people can get involved. More people can be enticed. More people pay into it, makes it more worth it. But the wisdom behind keeping it out still stands. And the damage it can do to the bigger picture is still real. Whether it's $1 million to make, $1 billion to make, $1 trillion to make, the problem that comes from letting it in can still destroy the whole thing, man. And I think like I've said about other conversations, we are letting unwise leadership lead us into paths where it seems as if we're not, like we're above consequences. Like we're on the verge of an era where we learn that lesson again. And then we will go into a phase where people will want certain things out, even though it's greatly profitable, because the presence of it going wrong could destroy the entire process. And we've already learned that lesson, man. We've already learned that lesson. You understand what I mean by that? We've already learned that lesson. That's why smart people who have the privilege of being able to make their money the legit way go the legit way. It's not because they're devoid of the understanding they can make so much more money on the street. It's because they know that once they go out in that street element, all it takes is one button to get pressed to destroy the whole process of making anything. It's never worth it if the game is going to be over with the sleight of a hand or the slip of a tongue. Do you see what I'm saying? You do better keeping the game going for the long term. You do better making sure there's no one button that can destroy your game. That is what I'm talking about. It's exactly what I'm talking about. You let sports betting into your game, you allow for that one button to get pressed. That one dude who's doing the wrong thing with his money come in and nefariously do whatever his intentions are, and then people start digging into you and they start finding out that you're complicit, like we already said. You don't let that be possible if you're wise and you want to keep the game going long term. You know you will make more money with the game continuing than with putting at risk one button that can press it and end the whole thing. It's too much on the line here, man. And it just seems like the NBA is in an unwise space where they're going to have to learn that lesson the hard way. And I just know better. I know better. The stakes are higher, the margin for profit is higher, but not all money is good money. And once you enter the equation of something that it can be corrupted, so goes the balance of becoming more sensitive, of how to keep what you have going. And it never ends. It never ends. You let a person think chance can be what gets them massive amounts of easy profit, they're going to manipulate that chance to secure that easy profit. I cannot stress this enough. Now you got people dreaming up ways to get involved so they can control that process. We're going to get over here into this area. We're going to get into this area. We can get it in this wing. We can get in that wing, control this, and then lean chance in our direction. If we control this, we could do that. What if we do this? What if we do that? And what if somebody's paying attention to that, scratching, sniffs in that area, and then sees what's going on there? Then what? Never let that stuff come into the door. Never even let that in the equation, man. Wisdom keeps the game going. Wisdom keeps you alive. Wisdom keeps your profit coming continuously. Wisdom makes it so that it's very difficult to fail. And so that's why I keep telling people, man, I'm gonna watch what happens. I'm a fan of the NBA, but I'm telling you, man, that this sports betting thing specifically is entering us into a space where the balance of keeping things on the up and up become much more sensitive. And the presence of people coming in, dreaming up ways to corrupt the game, or dreaming up ways to get away with corrupting the game, or helping others get away with corrupting the game, it's just inevitable. It's inevitable. And Adam Silver should see that angle. The owners should see that angle and cash out on this sports betting garbage, man. Cash out on that. It's time to cash out on that. In betting, you got to know when to fold them. You got to know when you've done enough. You got to know when you've won. And in my humble opinion, it's now time to insert ourselves an exit strategy from that. You've gotten a lot of money out of it over the last couple of years. You're going to continue to get a lot of money out of it now. Tomorrow, you need to get that crap out of your business, man. And I know there's going to be a lot of people going to want my head for that. Because people are making a lot of money off of sports betting. There's people making a lot of money off of enabling sports betting. There's a lot of people making a lot of money off of side businesses around sports betting. I get it. I'm messing up all y'all money if people listen to me. But y'all ain't going to have no business if somebody screw up as bad as they're capable of. And that's the wisdom behind what it is I'm saying. All of y'all shit go to shit, excuse my language, if this goes as bad as it's capable of going when you start doing things this way. Nobody's going to have a business. I don't tell you things you want to hear. I tell you things that I think you need to hear. That's how I run my channel, no matter what I'm talking about. And when it comes to being unwise, I just try to speak against that in every way I can. I don't care what the conversation is. I can hold myself accountable for unwise behavior. It's why I have such a intensity about these type of conversations, because I've been unwise, even with good intentions. Terrible decision making. And I know that a lot of times people want to do whatever makes them feel good. Sometimes those things are unwise. So I know people want to do whatever makes them profitable. Sometimes them things are unwise. And we're in a space where we love to shun the notion that we have to do everything on the up and up, because there's so much easier money made doing things nefarious ways. And there's a lot of corruption going on around us that may affect what it is that's happening to us. So we need to try to balance that out somehow. And a lot of people think that's the way to go. It ain't. That's what it comes down to. It's not. It ain't the way to go. What you're essentially paying for when you do things the right way is the peace of mind of knowing that no one's coming kicking down your door. That's really what it comes down to. It's peace of mind. It's very expensive. That's what it really comes down to. Peace of mind is very expensive. And so too is doing things the wrong way. Very expensive. If we're going to do things the wrong way and forego the payment of peace of mind, you will have some long, unhappy nights and some long, unhappy days paying the consequences for not paying the toll. Regardless of what the conversation is. So when you leave that on the table for which is possible in regards to profit, for the sake of doing things on the right way of things, maybe you don't make as quick a money. Maybe you're not, your ceiling for success isn't as high. But that is the cost of peace of mind and the ability to continue doing what you're doing for years and years to come as the changes of the world continue. You will know that no one's coming knocking on your door to take away your ability to do what it is that you're doing, because you have done nothing at all to make it so that would be possible. It's expensive when you consider how much you can do for doing things a different way. What you can receive for doing things a different way. It's very expensive. You're leaving a lot of potential money on the table. But what you allow for is the understanding that no one's going to come stop you from sitting at that table. You see what I'm saying? You may not be able to eat everything on the table, but no one's going to get you up and say you can't sit here anymore. You live to eat another day. And that's the wisdom behind what I'm saying. Not just as it pertains to sports betting, but any dang thing in the world, man, that requires you to have to look over your shoulder because you're doing things the wrong way. Wondering if somebody's coming to kick down your door and hold you accountable for it. Or trying their best to hold lies together so that what you've done doesn't get unearthed and them lies become corruptible. Now trying to keep those lies together, you have to do even more. To keep those lies secret, you got to be even more corruptible. You got to let horrible things happen so that those who know your secrets won't tell the lie, won't tell the truth about what you've done. Expose the lies, what I'm trying to say. You don't want any of those doors unlocked for you to walk through. You don't, and that's what it really comes down to for me. One lie begets not only more lies, but the need to keep all lies quiet. And you'll look up and be allowing the worst things in the world just to win that game. You'll look up and be willing to do the worst things in the world just to win that game. Just to be successful in that area of life off the strength of your own ambition. It won't even be about the consequences being unearthed. It's just be about being efficient and not being a loser in regards to the game of keeping your lies told kept secret. Your ego will drive you into being evil off of the strength of being successful in the game of keeping lies quiet. You don't want to open up the door for that. You don't want to find out who you are in them situations. Many people thought they were good people until they find themselves in situations like that. When they find out that it's either you being held accountable and exposed for what it is you are doing, or doing whatever the hell you got to do to keep that from being the case. A lot of people find out they're horrible human beings, demons. A lot of people find out they don't care about nothing at all as it pertains to integrity when it's time to keep them lies quiet. And that's what we're seeing in a lot of spaces all over the place. We talk about it on my channel a lot. I don't want to see any of us go down that path. The next generation, we got to be much smarter than that. We got to be able to think our way through being taught how to be that way. For the understanding that people have done things and then evolved through them. Meaning, a lot of stuff that people have done, they learn the consequences after they've taught someone. Or they end up being an example of why what it is they were teaching was no good. After those lessons are learned, we got to be in a space where we can say, all right, let's not do it again. But a lot of times, that lesson, for whatever reason, the results of that lesson are not shared. Or the presence of the short-term success of doing things that way gets the most conversation rather than the consequences thereafter. I just want to normalize avoiding certain things. I want to normalize anticipating certain things. I want to normalize getting ahead of certain things as it pertains to forcing ourselves into consequences that are unwise, behaviors that bring us about consequences that are no good. Opening the door for horrible things to be when it isn't ever necessary to even go down that path. Wisdom, man. Wisdom. A lot of people's egos will shun wisdom. They think they are above the consequences. It's not ever that. You are above consequences. It's not ever that. It isn't possible that things can go wrong. I don't care how many people have taught you how to do things the wrong way. You are one day away from finding out that you shouldn't have done things that way. You're one day from seeing why doing what they did isn't wise for you. And maybe it's the day before that comes around, so you ain't got no sight of that. You can't see where that was wrong. But that you will is something you wish you would have avoided. Something that you would have wished you could have gotten ahead of. And that's exactly what I'm trying to speak on right here. How many people I done seen go down the paths of regret? How many people I done seen go down the paths of that they didn't want to go down it? saying, man, I wish I would have knew this. I wish I would have did that. You try to tell them the day before them consequences, and you couldn't convince them no kind of way to avoid what it is that was coming their way. Nothing. You couldn't have told them nothing. They would have fought you to the death to assure that they could go down this path that they ultimately were about to regret. I feel like a lot of those people should have peace in that understanding that you would have never listened to the truth. You would have never done what was wise in that situation. Your ego was always going to lead you to the worst of consequences. That chance that things were going to go significantly right were always going to lead you down the path of destruction. A lot of those people who are now going through the consequences of knowing better have peace. You would have never listened. And unfortunately, it's a lot of y'all who ain't listening now. And that's basically the point. So a lot of y'all gonna regret y'all fate even worse than those I'm referring to. But are you listening? Are you doing what you need to do to see yourself down the wiser path that may be very expensive because there's so much to gain down the path of wrongdoing? Or are you just gonna say I'm preachy and not listen to me anymore because I'm too busy trying to tell y'all what to do and I done got my life together? It's like you would never have listened to wisdom. Find peace with that. When it really comes down to you living through the days that you ultimately going to regret the most, never blame yourself for not choosing the path that would have been better for you. You never would have done so. And this here right now is proof. You would have given yourself every excuse to keep going down that path. You would have given yourself every pass. You would have did everything you could to keep somebody from telling you the truth. You would have called them everything under the sun but the child of God to keep from having to receive the message that would have saved you from the hard times. To keep these guys off your backside. And what I'm trying to do is reach the kids who are not corrupt like you, who are going to be wiser than you, who are more evolved than you, who are going to be willing to at least see what it is I'm talking about and incorporate it into what it is that I'm asking them to incorporate it into. Because at the end of the day, because of your example, they know they should listen to somebody. They know. Because of how many people behind us blaming themselves for not listening to wisdom when they never would have listened to it any damn way, they clearly see where they went wrong, was never listening to it any damn way. That's where they messed up. And they don't want to go down that path with them. They don't want to go down that path with you. They would rather not spend the rest of their lives regretting their decision making. They would have loved to have taken on the wisdom that you shunned. Listen to the preacher that you said you wasn't listening to because he was too preachy. They would have loved to. And they're going to. Just like you should have. Video 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.